faithfully delivering value and interpreting the world's great books. Hi, this is Sally with the Book Talk. Today, I'm going to interpret for you a book titled The Cultural History of Pregnancy with the subtitle Pregnancy, Medicine, and Culture. Pregnancy is the most unforgettable and crucial period in a woman's life. During this time, a woman's body and mind go through huge changes, and depending on the era and culture, the status of pregnant women can vary a lot. So, what did pregnant women in the past go through? And what will childbirth look like in the future? The answers are all in today's book. The author, Claire Hansom, is a professor at the University of Southampton in the UK. She compiled materials on pregnancy in Britain over 250 years, including OBGYN documents, pregnancy guides, literary works, paintings, medical images, and more. She wrote this unique cultural history, letting you dive deep into how medical and social changes in Britain affected pregnancy. So, next, I'm going to break down the book's main points into 4 parts. First, how were pregnant women viewed in the 18th century? Second, how did male obstetricians take over from midwives to control the field of obstetrics? Third, how did government intervention affect childbirth? Fourth, what do new reproductive technologies mean for us humans? Let's start with the first question. How were pregnant women seen in the 18th century? So, during pregnancy, every woman has a mix of feelings, sweetness and nervousness about bringing new life, along with physical and mental anxiety and pain from all the changes. For instance, when a woman looks in the mirror and sees herself, she gradually comes to accept that image as her own. This process is called self-identity, and pregnancy directly shatters this self-identity, making women feel anxious and unsettled. This isn't just a modern thing for pregnant women. Oh, this unease was even more intense for women in the past. In 18th century Britain, without reliable diagnostic tech, even with classic signs like missed periods, baby kicks, and a growing belly, you couldn't tell for sure if a woman was pregnant. Only when the baby was born could you confirm she was really pregnant. You can imagine how much panic and pressure this brought to women. In traditional medical literature, the term excitability was often used to describe women's feelings during pregnancy. Excitability doesn't mean happiness, but rather an excessive or pathological state of sensitivity. Because of the stress, women during pregnancy were prone to depression and even bouts of hysteria. Even naturally cheerful women experienced melancholy or anxiety during pregnancy, and these notions subtly suggested that pregnancy meant a loss of rationality. When this pregnancy sensitivity escalated to extremes, it became mental illness. In the 18th century, the medical community debated what caused mental illness during pregnancy. Some believed it stemmed from organ disorders or hereditary causes similar to mania, so they treated pregnancy-related mental illness with the same methods used for mania, though these treatments seem unbelievable today, including shaving heads, applying cold emollients, forehead bloodletting with ephedra, and administering laxatives. Other doctors viewed pregnancy-related mental illness as psychological, with melancholy acquired through social environment. These doctors believed recovery required calm environments, restoring self-esteem and confidence. A more extreme view claimed it was congenital inferiority, inheritable across generations. Thus, proponents advocated controlling these women, denying them reproductive rights. Regardless of causes, women's pregnancy sensitivity reinforced traditional views of them as emotional creatures, naturally poor at rational thought. Many believed women's entire lives, from romance to conception, birth, and childcare, were instinct-driven with minimal rational involvement. A woman's reproductive role determined her intellectual capacity. In other words, they believed women spent lives bearing and raising children, needing little intelligence, just having the reproductive instinct was enough. On the other hand, since society needed women to have more children, they couldn't engage in too much intellectual work because intellectual work required sitting for long periods, which deprived women of exercise and could even cause infertility. And this might sound considerate towards women, but it was actually discrimination. All right, let's summarize this section. Women become more sensitive and emotional during pregnancy. However, in the 18th century, this normal physiological response was used as evidence that women lacked rationality and were unfit for intellectual labor. But with advances in modern medicine and the rise of obstetrics, pregnant women gradually became a special medical category, receiving better care and higher social status. Yet, compared to other medical fields, obstetrics, originally a private female domain, remained distinct. So, we need to explore how male obstetricians entered this space and took control of obstetrics discourse. This is the second question we'll address today. Before the 18th century, men were barred from the intimate field of obstetrics because during examinations, male doctors inevitably touched women's bodies and performed intimate checks. This was unacceptable to husbands and caused strong psychological resistance in the women themselves. Moreover, childbirth was seen as women's business, so a man entering obstetrics must have failed elsewhere. So when and how did this perception change? In the mid-18th century, licensed doctors realized caring for pregnant women, especially wealthy ones, was highly profitable. But since medical education was largely available only to men, society saw male obstetricians competing with traditional midwives over two core issues: pregnancy management protocols and fetal representation rights. This conflict represented a clash between different knowledge systems. Midwives, as women and mothers, represented experiential knowledge, while male doctors represented modern medical knowledge. The midwives believed the fetus was part of the mother's body, with different body parts able to sense and coordinate with each other. For instance, a mother's emotions could affect the fetus, and the fetus could sense and respond to her emotions. British folklore long held that maternal emotions during pregnancy could manifest as birthmarks on babies. Though unscientific, this became evidence for midwives of mother-fetus symbiosis called maternal imprinting. Oh, and as mothers themselves, midwives empathized deeply with pregnant women, an advantage male doctors lacked. Thus, by upholding maternal authority, midwives established their own professional authority. They advocated minimal pregnancy intervention, promoted natural birth, and resisted medicalizing pregnancy through obstetrics. But male obstetricians held different views. While agreeing emotions affected fetuses, they rejected maternal imprinting, arguing excessive maternal excitement posed risks, requiring emotional control for fetal responsibility. And only obstetricians could recognize and measure maternal impacts on the fetus because their experimental, physiological, and anatomical knowledge gave deeper understanding of human structure and surgical techniques. Combined with midwifery theory and practice, this granted more scientific, persuasive diagnostic capabilities. Therefore, obstetricians argued for increased pregnancy intervention to ensure maternal and fetal health. Yet, paradoxically, both sides firmly believed their approach was most natural. Midwives let nature take its course, stance is easily understood. So why did doctors claim interventions were natural? A contemporary doctor cited anesthesia. Its medical introduction faced public criticism. The first Western anesthesia use occurred during childbirth. Many then deemed anesthesia inappropriate and sacrilegious for disrupting natural bodily sensations. But later, as medical intervention acceptance grew with science, people naturally sought to reduce birth pain through medicine. Thus, increased intervention during pregnancy also became natural because people wanted smoother pregnancies and healthier mothers and babies. In the midwife-doctor debate, midwives' strongest weapons were first, their maternal experience understanding fetal impacts, second, their natural approach. Yet obstetrics refuted both arguments. No obstetricians countered. First, no maternal imprinting exists, just physiological interactions meeting modern medical management. And this influence requires modern medical intervention. Second, what's natural evolves with sociocultural changes. Thus, the midwives' knowledge system was fundamentally challenged. Thereafter, obstetricians gradually replaced midwives. They increased pregnancy interventions, somewhat ensuring fetal health. All right, let's summarize this second section. This part covered the competition between midwives and male obstetricians. Midwives claimed their female and maternal experience gave unique insight, advocating minimal intervention. But male doctors dismissed midwives' knowledge as fragile and absurd, insisting intervention ensured health, ultimately winning the discourse. Moreover, this profession gave men a pathway to upper-class status. Simultaneously, doctors' authority offered women some protection, increasing societal attention to maternal rights. So far, we've examined pregnancy individually, but it's never just private. National policies deeply affect it, like how many children per family, what benefits come with childbirth, is abortion permitted, and so on. Now let's explore our third question. How do governments influence reproduction? In common perceptions, rural women seem more fertile than urban ones, Black women more than white. Stereotypes not new. As early as late 18th or early 19th century Britain, similar beliefs existed. Rural poor bred more than other classes, while aristocrats reproduced insufficiently. Male obstetricians of that time also noticed this. They thought the nobles' luxurious lifestyle might be reducing their reproductive ability. They couldn't find any good ways to boost the fertility of the nobility. In fact, according to rough statistics, between 1750 and 1820, the fertility rates of nobles and the poor weren't much different. Nobles only cared about infertility because it often involved inheritance issues. The impression that the poor have high fertility actually represents the aristocracy's fear of their vitality. Deeper down, nobles worried too many poor would overturn the social structure. By the late 19th century, as eugenics developed, population growth became more closely tied to national interests. A slogan of this era was "population is power." People at the time generally believed that white Europeans were the most developed race, while other races and the poor were a burden to society. Thus, in reproduction, discriminating by race and class could improve population quality and strengthen the nation. So, what did the state do under such beliefs? First, selecting better women to be mothers. Under the influence of genetics, people believed that the key to a healthy race lay in hereditary factors. There was a fervent slogan: the best women must become future mothers, meaning only healthy, high-quality women should be mothers. The slogan sounds wonderful, but its hidden meaning was that less desirable women's reproductive rights would be controlled. From today's perspective, this is clearly unfair and unscientific. With advances in genetics, people realize that biological evolution is a long process. Sterilizing defective groups under eugenics had minimal impact on overall population quality. Second, creating better living environments for pregnant women and infants. This is environmentalism, different from genetic theories. Environmentalism holds that fetal development isn't solely determined by parents' genes. During pregnancy, the mother's physical condition directly affects the fetus's health. So, providing a good environment for pregnant women indirectly ensures a healthy growth environment for the fetus. Under environmentalism's influence, early 20th century hospitals began specialized services for pregnant women, like home visits and prenatal counseling. This concept brought very positive social impacts. People discovered poverty was the most common disease harming pregnant women and fetuses. The poor stillbirths often resulted from pregnant women lacking adequate food and family support. For example, early 1900s saw a book called Mothers in Pregnancy, Letters from Working Class Women. It collected pregnant women's experiences, truthfully documenting childbirth conditions then. One mother said, "Heavy labor, stress, and food scarcity broke my once strong body. I nearly died from malnutrition. My child died 9 months later." Another mother described a typical situation. "When pregnant with my youngest, my unemployed husband forced me to work. Standing all day, washing and ironing, gave me severe varicose veins. It partly caused my baby to get stuck during delivery. That nearly killed us both. Doctors said prolonged standing and baby's weight caused it. Thus, state action was needed, like food provisions, nutrition security, and adequate rest for underprivileged women." Under this belief, Britain launched a national milk scheme in July 1940, giving daily milk to pregnant or nursing women. By 1941, extra egg rations were provided to pregnant women and children under 5. Research shows these measures significantly reduced maternal, neonatal, and infant mortality rates. Oh, right. Let's summarize this third section. Nations needed high-quality populations, yet the impression that the poor bred more than the rich was inaccurate. In scarcity eras, fertility directly correlated with class and living conditions. The poor, due to hunger, malnutrition, and intense labor, few babies were actually born and survived. History shows us that only by lifting up the underprivileged can we truly boost things. And actually, society's focus on maternal and fetal health pushes obstetric tech to keep evolving. So how do new medical tech changes affect pregnant women? This is the final topic for today. First off, as obstetrics advanced, the fetus's status rose while the mom's status fell. Thanks to photography tech, we could start taking pictures of fetuses. In the mid-1900s, a famous photo showed a fetus sucking its thumb, a living being right there. After that, society and obstetrics started seeing the fetus as a separate person with life rights. So the fetus's importance shifted for moms and families, silently pressuring moms to always think about the baby inside. For instance, moms got to follow doctors' diet and behavior rules, plus keep getting checked up. Lots of moms complain they hit the hospital more during pregnancy than ever before. Not just that, moms feel their bodies turn public, poked and prodded with no privacy. As the fetus's status went up, the mom's importance went down. And in 1972, a study in The Lancet, a top medical journal, first proved fetuses can breathe on their own. After that, research zoomed in on fetal nerves, circulation, and breathing systems. This showed people that a mom's body holds two separate beings, but their needs don't always match. So here's the question. In tough cases, who gets priority? Say, if a mom gets sick and needs meds that might hurt the baby, should she take them or not? Or if a mom smokes or drinks, science says that's bad for the baby. But does she have the right to keep her habits? These dilemmas didn't exist before fetal imaging and diagnostic tech evolved. Now let's examine more complex technologies that sparked greater ethical debates and social issues. In the last 30 years, human control over reproduction has advanced rapidly. Take prenatal screening. Knowing fetal conditions before birth creates choice possibilities, like screening for Down syndrome, heart ultrasounds, fetal heart rates. It's an obstacle course before delivery. Such screening inevitably traps both mothers and doctors in ethical dilemmas. When fetal issues like cleft palate are diagnosed, should mothers choose termination? Do imperfect fetuses have a right to live? With IVF and related screening tech, ethical choices now face deeper quandaries. IVF was originally developed to help infertile couples have children. This remains its primary function today. But parents can also select embryos choosing gender, for instance. Some European countries now use IVF for family balancing through gender selection. Gender is the simplest choice. You can select traits like double eyelids or skin tone. But in Western religious culture, life is God given and sacred. When humans select gender or appearance, they're essentially playing God. It's fundamentally challenged core ethical beliefs at the time. Human trait selection also disrupts natural evolutionary balance, causing social and scientific issues. For example, preferring certain genders could create population imbalances. Moreover, surrogacy breaks the traditional unity of mother and fetus. Motherhood becomes ambiguous. Is it the womb provider or egg donor? If they fight for custody, who then is the rightful mother? As science delves deeper into pregnancy research, it's also becoming more commercialized. From maternity clothes and special foods to prenatal classes, pregnant women are now prime consumers for many industries. When governments and public hospitals can't provide ideal services, consumers turn to private hospitals, but only the wealthy have this choice. Those with low or no income can't make such consumption choices at all. This creates deep frustration in low-income mothers, negatively affecting their emotions and pregnancy journeys. All right, let's summarize this section. Advances in OBGYN, genetics, and medicine have given us greater understanding and control over reproduction. But this also brings new challenges. Artificially selecting next-gen traits presents serious ethical dilemmas. Choosing commercial services throughout pregnancy highlights class divides in this natural process. Finally, let's review today's content. This book uses pregnancy and population as historical threads, offering unique perspectives on British cultural history, renewing our understanding of reproduction's biological and cultural dimensions. Pregnancy history mirrors women's social status across different eras. Pregnant women are pivotal, representing womanhood while sustaining family lineages and national populations. That concludes our interpretation of the cultural history of pregnancy. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.